We must turn tragedy into triumph. Those words were spoken by renowned civil rights activist, the Reverend Jesse Jackson, during a recent funeral service in Alabama for E.J. Bransford Jr., who was fatally shot by police as they searched for a shooter inside of an Alabama mall Thanksgiving night. His heartbroken family calls his death unjust and are still demanding answers. The Reverend Jesse Jackson joins me now from Chicago. Reverend Jackson, the mother of Bransford and Attorney Ben Crump was on this show a couple of weeks ago demanding justice. I'm going to Alabama, joining them. You went, stood with the family several days, spoke at the funeral. What does this case mean to you when we hear so much from the NRA talking about good guys with guns, stop bad guys? Clearly, this was a good guy. There was a shooter he was trying to pursue, and he ends up being shot by police and killed.
Another case of barbaric injustice, Reverend Al. He was accused of doing the shooting. In fact, he was shot. He was accused of brandishing a gun because he had the gun, but you had the right to carry it. But Attorney Ben Crump, in a very tremendous way, got a forensic pathologist to check it out, and E.J. had been shot in the back 3 times, in the neck. One came out through his eye, and another came out through directly in his neck, and then his torso. And so he was killed instantly.
So he was shot from behind, clearly no direct threat to the officer, and shot 3 times. So as this case is pursued, they're just asking for fairness and justice, because it seems like the only thing he was suspected of being is fitting a profile of who this officer felt must have been the shooter.
Indeed it did. And as a matter of fact, they should reveal the tape, because the longer the tape is withheld, it looks like a cover-up. We just came there in Chicago, 16 shots, and it was a cover-up. Mm-hmm. It says there's no basis for covering up the tape. There were witnesses, and Attorney Crump has asked for witnesses to come forward. Talked with the mayor of Birmingham and the mayor of the town where the shooting took place. And they say they want the tape, let the tape come out.
When this occurred, when the funeral and other services occurred, as you know, I was in South Africa. We were part of the Sentinel celebration of Nelson Mandela. When I was a younger man, you and Harry Belafonte, Randall Robinson, and others had really brought to another level the Free Mandela movement. And in fact, when Mandela did get out of jail, you introduced me to Nelson Mandela and had him take a picture with me, and the times that I was with him after was based on your introduction. Tell the world what Nelson Mandela meant. You were the first American that he shook hands with when he got out of jail.
Well, he was a liberator leader. 100 years of a landmark as a liberator. He tried nonviolent demonstration. He was shot down in cold blood and massacred. They tried demonstrating. They tried the law, and the courts were stacked. Again, he became the military journal of the military wing of ANC, and finally he was captured before he moved from bombing installations to bombing people. He was in jail for 27 years, and he was there without guilt, and became a moral authority from the jail. He really did turn tragedy into triumph and became maybe the most moral authority in the Western world before he was finally released.
You have mentored many people over your long sterling career, as you were mentored by Dr. King and mentored others in politics and in civil rights like me. As you look at this country today, through the lens of your mentor, Dr. King, through the lens of your friend Nelson Mandela, where do you see the moral standing from a global perspective of the world as we head into 2020, and what type of leadership do you hope emerges in the 2020 race?
It's really at an all-time low. There are those who believe that might is right. We believe that right is might. You look at the president's attacks on our neighbors in Mexico and Canada, his attack on his behavior at the Argentina conference, which was just despicable. Babies on the border as a deterrent to keep the parents from coming for freedom, escaping tyranny, pulling the U.S. military to threaten to shoot people coming across the border. We've never known a low this low in our lifetime. And yet America spoke vividly November the 6th. And I'm convinced that between the speaking of November the 6th and the new Congress and the Mueller report, which continues to build steam, is going to alter some of what Mr. Trump wants to do, because America is greater than its president.
Do you feel that we will be able to see that leadership contrast in the 2020 race?
Well, it already, you look at people like Beto O'Rourke in Texas, and people like Stacey Abrams in Florida, and Gillum in Georgia, and Gillum in Florida. People like Kamala Harris and Booker. You see a generation of leadership emerging, and when it's real dark, you see the lights most clearly. The lights are coming out of nowhere, and the coalition of women and people of color fighting for gender equality and racial justice. It excites me very much. When I look at Alabama play Georgia in a big football game, I take a lot from that, because I remember when Wallace said a black couldn't attend Alabama. When the Maddox said blacks could not attend in Georgia. Now these kids are learning to play ball together, learn to live together, and there's a new South emerging in spite of the attempt. Trump can turn back the watch. He cannot turn back time. We're not going back. We're not going back to where we were. We're not going back.
Well, and like I taught you, keep hope alive. Oh, you taught me that. Thank you, Reverend Jesse Jackson. Up next, my final thoughts. Stay with us.